Hey guys, welcome to the All Sports Pass Podcast North. I'm your host, X, and today, welcome to the sixth video in the SEC Schedule Predictions series where I'm doing the Kentucky Wildcats. Keep in mind, these are my predictions. These are what I think is going to happen during the season. However, I like to hear y'all in the comments say your predictions. I'll try my best to respond to each and every one of you. But that being said, before we get into this video, I want to say thank you guys for 400 subscribers on the channel. Y'all are awesome. And also, another thing before we get into this video, leave a like, subscribe for more college football content and more SEC schedule predictions. So without further ado, let's begin. So, for Kentucky, they're coming into the season following a 7-6 season, and they actually upset two ranked teams during the season. They upset number 22 Florida by a score of 33-14, and then they upset during the Governor's Cup. They upset number 10 Louisville 38-31 before then losing to Clemson in the Gator Bowl by a score of 38-35. And now for Kentucky, in my opinion, it was a decent season for them. Now, of course, they want to try to keep that momentum coming into this season. So let's see what I think they can do. And now they do have a notable transfer I will talk about. Is they got from Georgia. They're both from Georgia. They got Jamon Dumas Johnson, who is a defensive linebacker. He played 3 seasons at Georgia, and these are his total tackles from his 3 seasons at Georgia. 2021 he had 21 total tackles, 2022 he had 70 total tackles, and 2023 he had 34 total tackles. And unfortunately in the 2023 season, his season ended with a fractured forearm against the win over Missouri. So his season unfortunately came to an abrupt end then. But however, I think he can reinforce Kentucky's defense, and it's going to be interesting to see what they can do during the season. However, Kentucky's getting a quarterback as well. They're getting Brock Vandagriff from Georgia. And looking at Brock, he was actually according to 247 Sports, he was the 5th ranked quarterback in his class, and he was actually ranked over J.J. McCarthy and Kyle McCord, and of course, but unfortunately at Georgia, he didn't really see the field much, but he did, however, he will likely be playing at Kentucky. He will be, let's rewind a bit. He'll be starting at Kentucky, and of course, he's going to be playing for them. However, really, in 2023 is really the only time he really got put in, really. In 2023 at Georgia, he went 12-18 completion with a completion percentage of 6.7 with 165 yards, which is an average of 9.2, and then 2 touchdowns and a quarterback rating of 180.3. And then now heading in, I do think that Kentucky can get a good amount on Brock, but however, it's going to depend on if Brock can adjust to being like the starter like a bit quicker, because like I said, he didn't really play much at Georgia, so it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. And so for Kentucky, they're going to be playing this schedule, and week 1, I'm going to say this, it's a win, simply because Southern Miss is a bit of a weaker team. So I'm going to give this one to Kentucky, because like Southern Miss is into the season 3-9, and I just do not think that now, unless Southern Miss can get in like during the off season, if they could strengthen their team. Unless they strengthen their team, I think this is an easy win for Kentucky. And then the next week, they're hosting South Carolina, and for this game, I'm going to say this. I think I'm going to give this win to Kentucky. I really don't know, really, but here's the thing. South Carolina, like one of their notable departures is quarterback Spencer Rattler to the NFL. Um, so now, but however, South Carolina is known to upset some teams. And of course, like I mentioned in previous videos, they upset Tennessee back when Tennessee was ranked number 5, and it was shocking then. But I do think South Carolina could be a team to upset, but I just don't. I don't think South Carolina can do it like this early in the season. So I'm going to give Kentucky this one here. Then the next week, they're hosting Georgia, and here's what I'm going to say about this one. I don't think that Kentucky can beat Georgia, really. I just think that Georgia can be the better team. So I'm going to give this one to Kentucky. I'm sorry. I'm going to give this one to Georgia here. I about said the wrong team. um, but I'm going to give this one to Georgia just simply because, I think Georgia's the better team. And really, for Georgia, if they can adjust to to their success over the past few seasons, then Georgia's going to be back to being hard to beat. But however, I just think it's going to be Kentucky losing this game. Now, in the next week, they're playing Ohio. And I have to say this: I don't think Ohio can beat Kentucky, simply because Ohio is a weaker team. And I'm gonna say that, that now keep in mind anything can happen in college football. Like for example, 2007, App State upsetting number 5 Michigan. Anything can happen, but however, I just don't think Ohio can do it really. So I'm gonna give this win to Kentucky here, simply because I just think that Ohio is a weaker team. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to be a Kentucky win. Then next week, they're playing at Ole Miss. And I said this in the Ole Miss video. I said I got Ole Miss winning simply because, Kentucky I just don't think can really. Now, of course, with Ole Miss, one of their notables is defensive line Walter Nolan, who can reinforce that D-line. And I really do think that, of course, Kentucky. Now, if Kentucky could somehow pull the upset, I'd be surprised. But however, I just don't think it's going to happen. So I'm going to give this one to Ole Miss. I'm going to keep my prediction on this one. And I'm going to give this one to Ole Miss. All right, then the next game, they're playing Vanderbilt. And I have to say this. Vanderbilt really isn't a strong team, really, in my opinion. Really, actually, no, not in my opinion. They actually finished last in the East Division, which is no longer a thing now due to the fact Texas and Oklahoma joined. The SEC got rid of their East and West divisions, but Vanderbilt went 2-10 overall, and they didn't win a conference game. I was saying that Vanderbilt is a bit is pretty weak on both sides of the ball. So I'm going to give this one to Kentucky, just simply because I just do not think that Vanderbilt can pull it off. But then again, it is college football. Anything can happen, but still, I just think it's unlikely that Vanderbilt can pull it off. Then next week, they're playing at Florida. And remember when I said earlier that Florida ended up, losing Kentucky when Florida was ranked number 22? I really think that, Kentucky being able to pull the upset. I'm sorry. Let's rewind a bit. Florida became ranked number 22 after defeating back then a number 11 Tennessee. And now for Florida, I just think that Florida just started to struggle really after the Kentucky loss last season, and I just think that Florida can continue to struggle. So I'm going to give this one to Kentucky here, just simply due to the fact that I want to say that Kentucky was the better team last season, and now of course this is a new season. But however, I do think that if Florida continues to struggle, then Kentucky's going to be the better team this season. So I'm going to give this one to Kentucky here. All right, and then the next game they're going to be playing Auburn, and Auburn Auburn went 6-7, and I'm just going to say this that Auburn, in my opinion, like they're decent and they about beat Alabama last season. Sorry, Auburn fans, for mentioning that. But however, and also Auburn nearly beat Georgia last season as well. However, unfortunately, things just didn't work out. But however, I do think that, of course, anything can happen in college football. But however, I think, in my opinion, I think I'm gonna go and I think I'm gonna go an upset here. Like, keep in mind, upset for me is someone that I personally think that I'm sorry, no, this ain't an upset. Sorry, we got to rewind it back again. I think I'm gonna go Auburn on this one simply because I think Auburn can also be the better team, and I just feel like that with Auburn really. With Auburn really being tough to beat so many times, I just feel like that. I just feel like that Auburn can be the better team and beat Kentucky. All right, and then the next game is at Tennessee. I said in my Tennessee video that I have Tennessee beating Kentucky, which honestly I think is going to end up happening because Tennessee has a win streak against Kentucky. And excuse me, and I have a win streak against Kentucky, and Tennessee. It's a 3-game win streak, and so the last time Kentucky beat Tennessee was in 2020, where they actually upset Tennessee. Kentucky was unranked. Tennessee was ranked number 18. Kentucky won 34-7, and then after that win, Kentucky lost to Tennessee for 3 seasons in a row. But however, I'm going to keep my pick from the Tennessee video. I'm going to go Tennessee on this one. All right. Then the next game, it's Murray State, and I'm going to say this. Murray State's a weaker team, so there's not really much to say about this one in my opinion. So I'm going to give this one to Kentucky. And that way, and then of course that's going to be their last want to say weaker team of the season in my opinion. Keep in mind, when I say weaker teams, it means teams that aren't really as competitive as the other teams. So that's what I just call it, just for people who don't know what I mean by that. I do think that, however. But I do just think that, for Murray State, if they were to upset Kentucky, I would be shocked. But it is what it is. But it is what it is. I just think it's highly unlikely it's going to happen. But, however, so I said, college football, anything can happen. Last time I will say that in this video, so don't worry. All right, and then the next game, they're playing SEC newcomer, Texas, at Texas. I said this in my Longhorns video. I'm going to go with Texas on this one simply because Texas is coming off a phenomenal season, and also because I just do not think that Kentucky can really stand up to Texas. So I'm going to give this win to Texas, and just heading in, I just think that if Texas, now keep in mind this game is a long way off, but if Texas can continue that momentum from last season, I'm going to give this one to Texas. All right, and then the next game, it's the battle for the Governor Bell. It's Kentucky versus Louisville, and I have to say, I remember I said this earlier in the video that Kentucky upset number 10 Louisville by winning that game 38-31 and ended Louisville's hopes to be in the national championship race, you could say. Now, keep in mind, now here's the thing. Keep in mind, now it was it was the last game of the season, and Louisville was going to need a phenomenal game in order to potentially be up there, even though it was unlikely. Because back then they only had 4 teams going for the national championship, and this year they're expanding to 12. But with the 4 teams, Louisville would had to going into this game. Louisville had to had a phenomenal game in order to have any shot to really get up there. But unfortunately, it ended with the loss for Louisville and really ended Louisville's season in disappointment. But however, Kentucky pulled the upset. But however, I think for Louisville, they want revenge for that loss. And if Louisville can do everything right this season, I think I'm going to give this one to Louisville, honestly. Because if Louisville can do everything right this season, then I'm going to give it to Louisville. And I'm going to see Louisville winning the Governor's Cup. And let me know what you guys think down in the comments below on what you think of the schedule, and tell me your predictions down below. Alright, that's all I got for y'all tonight. If y'all like this video, leave a like and subscribe for more college football content and more schedule predictions. Peace out, and thank you for 400 subscribers.